I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Goodbye, Pearl. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for your loss.
What the hell is this?
No. God never gives you more than you can handle. So, yeah.
We should get a website.
Why?
To help solidify our brand.
We don't have a brand.
Not yet, but with a website.
Dad,
Why are you here?
this is what I do.
You creep out dying girls?
So you creeped out?
Not creeped out.
My urine looks like iced tea. Looks like a fresh batch of Lipton.
Thank you for that.
Cordova and Cordova Mortality Solutions.
Incorporated. Well, technically we're an LLC, but we thought the INC had a better ring to it.
You ever watch someone die? Like really be there till the end? But facing death. Like sharing that with someone. It's beautiful.
Be normal. Do normal things. Live a normal life.
Why would I want to be like everyone else?
Because it has to be better than this.
You find someone. No ties. Just a person out in the world, and you earn their giving about you. Love. Friendship. Something real. And you got a chance.
God closes the door, he opens a window. I nailed that shit.
Hey, what's up, everyone? You guys just checked out the Miss White Light trailer. That actually comes out next week. We will be talking with the writer and director today, Paul Shoulberg. We have Paul Shoulberg. He's a writer and director. Paul's film Miss White Light, starring Judith Light, premiered at the 2019 South by Southwest Film Festival and will be released in October 2020. It's actually the 6th. So that was Miss White Light that you just watched. And he also wrote and directed The Good Catholic, a feature film starring Danny Glover and John C. McGinley, which won the Panavision Spirit Award for Independent Cinema at the 2017 Santa Barbara International Film Festival and Best Screenplay. That's pretty amazing. He's currently in post on So Cold the River, a film he wrote and directed based on Michael Koryta's internationally best-selling novel. Paul is a 2000 graduate of the MFA playwriting program at Indiana University. Go IU, go Hoosiers, that's where I graduated, and earned his BA in theater and film from the University of Kansas in 2004. So we have a lot to talk about with Paul. Paul's a pro. He's in Hollywood, and he works on Hollywood films. He's actually based in Indiana, where I'm from, so we have this awesome connection. Really, really excited to talk with Paul today. I'm going to go ahead and put him on, and we will see where we go. Let's do this thing. Let's see if we can get Paul on. Looks like we're waiting for Paul to hop on with us. Paul, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. This is my first Instagram Live experience, so
welcome.
Please
welcome
deal with the
Instagram.
my technical, what I'm lacking here.
Oh, you're not lacking anything, man. I mean, you wrote and directed a feature film, so I feel like you can handle Instagram.
Yeah, but there's always someone else to do this on features.
That's very, very true. No, thanks so much for joining us, Paul. Really excited
thanks for
to
having
have
me.
you. Absolutely. And, you know, we're going to go into what we just watched with the trailer. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but quick question for you right off the bat, Paul. What did you recently just stream? What was the last movie, or what did you just stream? What did you just watch?
A very unforgettable movie. I'm thinking of Ending Things, the Charlie Kaufman film on Netflix.
Okay.
Wow, that's a ride.
Okay.
I mean, it's Charlie Kaufman, so it's in a way, it's you kind of expect some sort of complete mind-bending situation, but you never can predict the specific way it's going to like destroy your brain. But
Yeah.
I've only seen it once, so I don't even know. it's the kind of movie you got to see probably 4 or 5 times before you can really talk intelligently about. But man, that is, the acting in that film. I mean, everything in that film. It's pretty intense.
I'm gonna have to check it out. What was the name again for everyone else?
I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
I'm Thinking of Ending Things. I'll make a note of that for sure. So always like to get creators' opinions on films and new things that have came out, whether it's old or new. Always like to see what people are watching and hear what people are watching. So now, Paul, I want to go back. I kind of want to go talk about those early years, before IU, before you became a Hoosier grad. Tell us about those early years. What made you get into filmmaking? I mean, specifically writing and directing, and I'll let you funnel that. But I mean, where did it doesn't always start there for everyone. That's a position you have to work up towards. So how did you land in that role?
Well, it's one of those things where I started writing screenplays because I think I'm 43 now. I started when I was 23, maybe even 22. It's been a while, and the appeal was I could sit in a room by myself and create movies, and they were perfect on paper. When you're writing screenplays, in your head everything is working exactly how you want, and you can control the world. I didn't grow up in a family of artists. I didn't have a peer group of artists like through high school. So I did not know that I had permission to even create something and put it out in the world. But when it was just like, I knew how to watch movies and I knew how to love movies more than anything. And it was an obsession. And so I just started kind of writing alone in a room by hand in a notebook, writing these screenplays, not knowing anything about format or what you do with it when you're done. And it became like a singular obsession. And I wasn't able to formalize anything with it until I started, after failing out with a bunch of normal majors at a bunch of different universities. I finally landed back in my hometown of Lawrence, Kansas. And I went to the University of Kansas and I met Kevin Wilmot, who you might know him from just winning an Oscar for being one of the writers on Black Klansman. And he's this very accomplished screenwriter who teaches screenwriting at KU in the middle of the country. And he kind of, for some reason that's still a mystery to me, took me kind of under his wing and really mentored me and taught me how to do this. And that's what kind of changed everything. Because before then, it's so hard when you're outside the industry. You don't know anyone. You don't understand the reality or that it's a thing that people can actually do. And he really showed how you can be a normal person and also be really working towards these lofty goals in an industry that's insanely competitive. And that's really what got me going. And I stuck with writing for a long time, even though I always wanted to direct, because writing was safe. So I didn't start directing until the first film I directed was in 2016, was The Good Catholic. And so, I mean, keep in mind, I started writing in like 1999. So, I mean, you do the math on that. It was very hard for me to tell the world I'm going to be a director, because I mean, it's so people will, it's very hard. It's a hard thing to do. And it's a really hard thing to get other people to give you the opportunity to do. So to kind of sum up this very long-winded, rambling answer to what was a simple question that I should have been able to answer more concisely. But the thing was, I think the way that I became a director was I wrote for so long and worked so hard at becoming a good writer that I got to the point where I was good enough that I can make people have to bring me on as a director if they wanted my script. That's really what it was.
That's a good position to be in. So, I mean, you started at that level because everyone's always so interested in filmmaking because, like you said, your answer was complex and winded because it's a hard industry to get into. It takes time to get into. You started writing in 99. You shot The Good Catholic in, I believe, 2017. or
2016 is when we shot it. Yeah.
2016, and it came out in 2017. So you've started backwards a little bit, and how cool is that in being in a writing position to say, okay, now you have to hire me as a director because I understand story structure. I understand the arc. I understand the process. And now I'm already at that level. That's a bold move. And something.
Well, it came from, I had a movie made as just a writer in 2013 called Walter. And I said I wanted to direct it, but when the producers smartly asked me, like, okay, well, what's your plan? I was like, I don't know. You just you direct it. It just happens. Yeah. And they're like, maybe we should find someone that can answer that question. And they were absolutely correct. I had no concept. I knew what it was to be a screenwriter. I understood story structure. I understood character. I had come from a theater program at IU. I understood actors. I could work, but like if I would have stepped onto that set of Walter, knowing what I knew then, it would have been a disaster, honestly. And so yeah. I had, but going through the process, by the end of Walter, I realized, I don't want to being just a screenwriter on something. And I don't mean to say just a screenwriter as like it's some sort of pejorative term. But like you're either built to like, to me, a pure screenwriter, someone that should be doing just that, yeah. really craves that collaboration and that, and really blending visions or handing over they call it a blueprint, which is a little bugs me, but it is, to a director with a vision. And that's what they love and crave, and they naturally fit that role. And that's great. I have trouble not seeing the vision through. And I know that I always had that director's mindset. And so I didn't want to be a frustrated writer. And so I decided from that point forward, if it's going to be an original script, like obviously I've written stuff for other people to like, then that's fine. I love doing that. But if it's going to be my original story that I made up, I'm going to fight to direct it every time, because otherwise it's someone else's movie. It's good. It's the director's medium, and it becomes a director's movie. And you got to be honest with yourself. Are you okay with like filtering your vision through someone else?
Yeah, you let those characters. You've spent this time writing into these characters. You've put your heart and soul. You know these characters better than anyone. You've created them, or you're basing them off someone. Just to hand that over for someone to maybe not be able to play that role out, or the director's just not getting or sounding just how you thought it was when you were writing it. So I completely understand that. There's some creative control there that I think is honorable, though, because you put in the writing process. Let me put in the directing time too. Like let me execute through production, from pre-production, and then we'll let post handle it. And the vision should line up pretty darn well, right?
But you got to fight for that, because they will. If they will tell you, if you're a writer, they want nothing more than to keep you a writer, and they'll say that's what you do. This person directs. The first thing when you hand over a script, unless it was written already with the understanding, the first thing that agents and people will come back to you with is, oh, there's this director. It's like you have to really be prepared to say, this won't get made if I'm not directing it. And then you'll find out who's actually interested. But they like Hollywood wants nothing more than to take decision-making away from writers as quickly as they can. In film, in TV, it's the opposite, but in film, like that is, it's amazing how the role of the writer, I think, is diminished in, sorry, this just fell. The role of the writer is diminished on film, I think, in most instances, unless the director really understands what's going on, in a way that I just think is, it's unfortunate, because they have a lot to offer on set.
Well, good for you for, being able to write and direct like Miss White Light, and we're going to get into talking about that. So I want to fast forward to now, because that's all really, really good info, and especially writers who are listening or are going to watch this later or listen later. You don't always have that control. So sometimes you have to fight for it, but I think there's a huge reward, at the end. So let's go current day now. We know how you got into it. We know what that process looks like. So like today, I mean, I know you're visiting some family and whatnot, but what's a working day look like to you, on a normal kind of working day back home?
It's a perfect time to ask me this, because there's a ton of things. Sometimes it's like you're going months and you're like, I'm just a writer for this, for all of the next 4 months, I'm just a writer, or I'm just on set. Right now, I am in post for So Cold the River, which is a film that I shot in January and February. I am doing press for Miss White Light, which is coming out next week. I'm finishing a script for something else that I want to direct down the line, and all at once. So the calendar is just, it looks like a Jackson Pollock painting right now. It's just like all these dots. I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. And it's pure chaos. I will always say, when I feel the stress, I'm like, oh, I just want things to be simple. And the minute things get simple and there's nothing to do and there's nothing on the horizon, I'm like, man, I miss it, so, but this is like a particularly chaotic time where there's just a lot of things happening simultaneously. The way that just timing has worked out with all of like the films that I've directed, when I've been going into pre-production for one film, the other film was coming out. And so like, it's just always like I'm in post now and a film's coming out. It's great. It is great. And it's like anybody that's complaining about that has never, it's ridiculous. But it is definitely like, so there really isn't a typical day. It depends on if I just have the writing hat on, I'll probably spend, it sounds crazy, but you spend like 4 hours a day not writing, but being a writer mentally. And that's the thing that I don't think people really, I'm sure people do talk about it, but I don't think they talk about it enough. Writing is not, for me, everyone's got a different thing. For me, it's not sitting in a chair for 8 hours a day. That's not productive. But it is when I'm at the grocery store, when I'm running, sometimes when I'm actually like interacting with people when I'm supposed to be present. I am just working through story. So when I sit down, it's a couple hours, but it's like I've been writing all day and I've been mentally just locked into that all day. And so that's the writing mind. In production, a day in the life of a director with a movie in production, it's
whatever the set day looks like, right?
And it's endless and it's grueling and it's like being, it's just so, it's so physically demanding that there's nothing else happening but being a director.
Right. Well, that's good. You can shut the writer. It's written. It's good. Or it's approved. Now you can be a director, right? You can kind of just draw. You can shut the door there.
Yes,
for the most
but
part.
actors like to, when actors know you're the writer too. It's just like, hey, look, can we? You just get. It's a different type of access, and I think I finally figured out on So Cold the River how to switch hats. Like still, obviously I'm going to be the one doing a rewrite after a rehearsal or whatever, but to approach looking at the script in my earlier films, I was coming, from the writer mindset. I was very much protecting the script, and the script was a story and I wanted to honor that. And on So Cold the River, I finally learned the benefits of taking the script and being like, I can do anything I want. If I want to block the scene this way, I could change what's happening in this story as long as it fits the bigger picture. And that was really freeing, and really switching hats is really, it's key in I think properly directing a film after writing it.
Yeah, there's that kind of inline process, but I still think that, like you said, you can always switch. Things change all the time. You have to pivot on set. That's just part of being on set, right? So you being able to pivot, being the writer and the director, you could change part of the story if something didn't work, and it wouldn't be a huge deal. Otherwise, you'd have to go get it. Would
not dealing with the ego. Like, I can't imagine again on Walter, the director. I couldn't imagine having to deal with me anytime that there was something to change, and I'm just like, so it helps tremendously to know that as a director, if I'm also the writer, I could completely steamroll the writer, and I'm not going to have like it's not a political thing. I could just writer Paul gets stamped out really fast, so it's nice.
Yeah, you're like, who wrote this? This is terrible.
I've said that before on set too. I've blamed the writer many times.
Well, let's talk about Miss Whitelight now. I want to move into that just because it does have a release next week. I believe on the 6th of October, which is awesome. Tell us about that South by Southwest process. I know you guys went out there and checked out the film. And did you expect that much love? Did you expect that reaction? Did you expect that call back? Tell us about that process.
It's weird to me, like as a filmmaker, I'm of two minds. As a creative of any kind, I'm always of two minds where, and they're polar opposites, where I am shocked that anybody cares at all, and likes it at all, and then I'm shocked that everyone doesn't love it.
Yeah,
and it's both. Like
it
is you're in that mindset all the time where you always expect great things, and you're always shocked when anything good happens. I will say, when Janet Pearson, the person who runs South by Southwest, and she contacted our team, and I found out that we were in South by, which has always been like a dream of mine. It blew me away. Like it really did. And it was a great moment. And, the experience of going to South by was, I was not present at all. I was like, it was kind of nerve wracking just because of the way I'm wired. Sure. I imagine it was a great moment for people that are able to be present in their lives. But for me, it was just like all nerves, but it was such an honor, such a cool experience to be able to screen at a place like South by. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, and then let's talk about that process after. So is that so that's a phone call, right? You don't find out there, obviously, or do you find out like winners? But the phone call about maybe it getting is it getting distributed and now that it's being released to the public? Like what's that process?
It's funny, and I'm sure that there are many different experiences. But with the films I've made, they've been before So Cold, I've been making very, very small indie films. So Cold's it's a jump up in scale, but on Miss Whitelight, Good Catholic, these are very small films. So, and they're not only very small films, they're small films that I did not write with the intention of. I wrote with the intention of creating art and telling a story, and not thinking about marketing and not thinking about where it fits in the industry. So it's always it's just a kind of a long process finding the distribution. The producers do it. It's not something that I'm not going into rooms and pitching my movie. It's just it's a sales thing that they have to kind of go through. And you get a lot of like, wow, I really love this movie. It made me cry. Can't sell it.
Yeah.
Like, great. Okay. Thank you. If you would have had, if one of these characters would have killed one of the characters, like beheaded the other character in the last act, then we could have done something with this. But like, I don't know how to market. Like, it made me cry.
Right.
But you find someone that believes in it, and as we did, and it's such a long, like these little bits of like success that happen are so drawn out, and it's such a process of hard work and endurance that. Often you can look back and say, wow, this is really cool that it went here and it got distributed and it's out. But when you're in it, sometimes it's so much work that you don't really sit back and are able to have that perspective until a couple years later, really.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a while to process. I can't imagine. I mean, we've had short films go in little film festivals and win. And they got like sent off to LA into New Filmmakers LA. And that was mind blowing for me. So I can't imagine being on the South by Southwest level. That's definitely a goal of mine in the future. And everyone processes things differently. You're in a position as a writer and director where that thing's your baby. You conceived that thing and then you made that thing, like, whereas some other people like just maybe they're really strong actors or actresses in it. So I could see why your nerves were fluttering that day. I also had a comment here from Graham, who I know you know really well. And Graham said, Paul for president. And Fans for Paul said, I second that. And then Deanna said same. And I think I'll just go ahead and say fourth as well. So Paul for president. Gotta love that. So also, I want to talk about Miss Whitelight a little bit more. Just really excited about it. how do you approach a project like that? Was this a story that I see Miss White Light, the movie, just hopped on as well. That's awesome. Talking about you right now. What's that process of writing look like? Was this an experience? Do you know someone who does this for a living? Just judging from the trailer, I haven't seen the film. Is this based on a true story, kind of in your own way?
There are, and I found this out after writing the movie. There are people called death doulas, which are essentially doulas for people that are dying instead of having a baby. And so it is a thing. It's kind of I did not want to. I wasn't interested. I think it's an awesome thing, but this story particularly, I was not trying to like show what it like the true story of what it's like to be a death doula. This is character based. So I wanted to create just something that only this person did in their world. But my father passed away in 2013, and when I wrote and directed The Good Catholic, it was kind of based on his life to honor him. But the experience of being with him as he was dying was so profound that I really wanted to explore death specifically. There is a death scene in The Good Catholic, and I just found myself thinking, like, what would it be like to just have the whole movie be just about death? It's something that we're all going to deal with. It is inevitable. It is the most universal thing that you could possibly have. Right. And if you've experienced the loss of someone, you need it's weird because it's so normal that you're not unique, but right. the feeling of it is so profound that you feel like you're the only person in the world that's experiencing this. And I really wanted to try to create something that captured that and hopefully give someone something that they could and just latch onto and think like, and just be able to realize that this is something that they're not alone, and it's not, while it's a terrible experience, there is joy and absurdity in the process, and it's such a human experience that we don't really get it. It's dramatized so heavily. Death is such a high drama point in so many films and stories, and I wanted to normalize death and make it about like the character journey. Having like in the film there are points of high drama, but not have it's not about like we're all gonna die, but how do we live with death?
Yeah. Well, and luckily you had Judith Light there, turn it nice into a dramedy. I mean, you have some light there with Judith, just because she brings that comedic aspect, at least in the trailer from what I saw. You fall in love with this character, I'm sure, as you watch the film, and you get to really know her and why she's doing what she's doing, I'm sure. But what a balance, right, of drama and maybe some light comedy, and just trying to figure out how to mold that. And it's very relatable. I mean, you said it's the most universal thing that we're all going to experience, and how there's nothing better than experiencing that in a film. I'm really, really excited for Miss White Light. I'm gonna check it out on the 6th. I'm really excited to watch that. Everyone else, check that out. It'll be streaming on what's the platforms?
I believe it will be on all the kind of places where you could buy or rent films. So iTunes, Amazon, the whole thing. Cool. But yep. Okay,
cool. So everyone check out Miss White Light. That comes out October 6th. So that is next week. That is cool. I want to shift gears now, and I know you're still in post with this, but I do want to start talking about So Cold the River. This movie has a special place in my heart. I know nothing about it besides what we've discussed previously and what Graham and I discussed. And it has a special place in my heart simply because it was filmed right around where I grew up. You actually live where I went to school and grew up. Judging from the small town that you always drive through from Bloomington or Brown County to go down to set for where you guys shot that, you passed through my small town of like 1,500 people.
I did drive through. It's Paoli. Yeah, I've driven through Paoli a lot, and I only know it from the view of the road. But yeah.
And I think didn't you film a shot or two in there for a previous film? Was it The Good Catholic?
I don't think so. We
Okay,
shouldn't have.
so okay, maybe Graham was mistaken, but it just to be.
Well, we did
growing
actually.
up,
We shot in a hospital. We shot in a hospital that may have been in Paoli. Actually, now that I think about it, they're not for So Cold.
Okay,
I think that, and I could be totally wrong. So I apologize to whatever surrounding town from West Baden that I am offending right now. But we did go to another town that had a hospital because that was the nearest hospital. It may have been. How close is Paoli to West Baden?
It's the next town over, so it's about
20 minutes. Okay, yep, that's
10
where I think we shot at the Paoli Hospital. Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. So the reason I bring up that location is because it's such a small town area in Indiana, and just to see you guys, you and Graham, like even be in the dome shooting and shooting a feature film there. I've had friends that work at the hotels and the domes that have mentioned the movie being shot there. That's really, I mean, that's just a big deal. You don't see big productions coming through those areas. So personally, I want to say thank you for bringing the film aspect into my county that I grew up in, because that's a goal of mine to do in the future as well, to shoot something where I grew up. Has nothing to do with the film probably, but I've always wanted to do that. It's just nice to see. It's nice to see big cameras in small places. Is what I always say.
And it's nice to photograph small places because it's not going to look like Atlanta or Vancouver or the other places where everything is shot. You automatically get a unique geography, unique architecture, unique everything. When you go somewhere that's never been filmed, you have a huge advantage. There are disadvantages. There are things you have to overcome, but you do get something that other people don't have.
Yeah, there's no lack of scenery there. I think you guys, I mean, you based it off the novel, and it couldn't be more accurate, right? So let's talk about what we can about So Cold the River. Not to get into too much technical stuff, I do know that there was a Litra studio or two, or a couple products maybe used on the set of this film, which is really cool, and really looking forward to seeing that in action. What can you tell us about So Cold the River so far? And we did have a question from fans for Paul. When is So Cold the River coming?
We're still finishing the movie, so we have not even started that whole process of like when it will be available. Okay. Especially with the situation the world is in right now, with COVID and everything. It could be like things are moving very quickly or being delayed drastically, and I don't know where we're going to fit on that in the spectrum. But we're close to finishing it, but who knows when? Too early to tell on when it will be out there in the world. So Cold the River was just this movie based on Michael Koryta's best-selling novel. And this is the first time I've ever adapted anything, which has been a really cool process. And Michael's been heavily involved in a good way. Not, like he's been really cool about giving it over to the medium of film, which is always the thing you're afraid of, because what works as a novel does not, if it works as a film, it's coincidental because they're so different. And he really was great about giving, and there's a ton of liberties taken. I mean, a lot has changed, but the vibe is what, we were able to keep. And we obviously the location that those hotels down there, it's just, it's like nothing else. And if anybody just Google West Baden Springs Hotel, if you haven't seen it, and you'll go down a rabbit hole of just, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense as a structure. Shooting there was amazing, terrifying. It was quite daunting. It's actually when you have spaces that are that like 6-story domes made of glass. Sounds amazing and is, but you have to wrangle a space like that to not get. I mean, to really be able to shoot in a space like that, it's actually quite difficult. You can't just throw a camera up, and it's not like a mountain range or something where you could just get this. It took a lot of work from our team to just be able to make that place, to be able to rein it in so we could tackle it. But it was such a cool experience to be able to shoot there.
Awesome. Yeah, super excited to see that. I was telling you, my stepfather and my mom has been up top there, but my stepfather actually did all the sheet metal for the dome on the roof, which every time I see it, I'm just like, I'm not sure how or why you did that, but it's just a
No,
crazy.
like there's like a if you're really adventurous, there. Did you say your mom was at the top? Did she go up to the room?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was offered that opportunity and was just like, hell no, no way, I'm going up there. Because you have to go outside to get to this. There's this little room at the top of the dome where to get there, and it's not open to the public for obvious reasons, but you have to go outside and like climb on the outside edge of the dome to get in there. And I was like, I'll take an elevator up there, but I'm not climbing on the outside of a dome.
It's crazy. The size of that thing is absurd. And the big thing in the middle that looked like the spaceship that actually used to come down back in the day, and a jazz band used to play on it at dinner time, and they would come down from the ceiling. No joke. Yeah, and they would hang in the middle of the dome and play jazz music.
When was this? This is like back in my
30s
or 40s or
exactly, like before there was like laws against like
I bet they weren't strapped in at all either. I bet they were just standing there. Oh my God.
Yeah, so that's a fun fact for you. That place is beautiful. Google West Baden Springs if you haven't, everyone. I'm going to tag you in a video that I droned there a couple years ago. It was really fun. Paul, we're going to wrap this thing up here soon, but I do want to leave the listeners and viewers on a good piece of advice. We always have talented people come through. What is just one piece of advice for someone maybe wanting to get into directing or writing full time? What would you recommend to them at this point in their career if they're just getting started?
I would say if you can write, because if you want to direct, that gives you, like, if you write well, that's something, that's a check on your side to get that opportunity. But I would say people, I hear a lot from people in the industry that say, oh, it's so easy to shoot now. Just go out and grab a camera and just make stuff. And it's that, while that is definitely true, and I'm all for doing that as much as possible, I think that it's a little misleading. I do think that people need to, if my advice, and everyone has a different path, but the only thing I had that was giving me any advantage at all to like get these opportunities was I worked really hard at becoming a good writer before I presented that skill to the world. And there are ways to learn. If you've got a group of friends and you're all at the same level and none of you know what you're doing, go out and just start making stuff. That's cool. You're going to learn. You're going to get better together. But don't forget that there's a lot of work that's going to, especially if you're writing, that needs to be done alone in a room. And it's unavoidable. And you got to put in the hours and you got to work. Get good at that thing. Nobody can stop you. It is free to write. No one can tell you no. You can work your ass off and get really good at that. It will open up. That gives you a skill that it is a necessary thing to have that you can do on your own without any permission from anyone. So that would be my thing. If you can write or you have any inclination to doing it, and if you're not a good writer at all and you know that, find a writer. Because we're all over the place, and a lot of us are really bad socially and are not good at going out and getting a crew of people to.
Paul, I lost you, man. Paul, I lost your camera, man. You there?
Can you hear me?
I've lost. Now I got you. Sorry, man. I wanted to stop you before you kept going there. I lost you for about 20 seconds. See, we're having maybe some connection issues here, but it's okay. I got you there. Hold still. No, I got you there. You're good. I'm going to see if we can get Paul back in here. You there, Paul? Okay, I'm going to pull him out really quick. I'm going to put him right back in, and that way we can wrap this thing up. Super fun. Let's get Paul going here. Fans for Paul is on. Let's see if we can get Paul back on. There he goes. Thanks, Paul. Gotta love technology, man. That's just how it goes, right? You there? Uh-oh, having mic issues. I can see you, Paul. I don't think I can hear you now. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear
now
me?
I can hear you. Got you, man.
I'm moving around to try to find like a better spot up here.
You're fine.
Just
I wanted
wonderful
to backtrack
visuals,
a little
I'm
bit
sure.
about the advice. No, you're good. I wanted to backtrack about that industry advice. You said to keep writing if you can. You also kept going there, and then we got cut off. So what was that advice again?
The big thing is like, so yeah, obviously if you can write or you're inclined to write, you can do that. And I highly recommend it. Whether you're an actor, whether you're a director, whoever, if you can write, you got to develop that skill. But if you can't write, I feel weird. So, but if you don't have it, find a writer. Especially directors, actors, whoever, find a writer. You're bringing something to the table. You've got a visual style, or you're a great actor, you're whatever, and help them. Like you're giving them something too that they don't have, and partner up with someone. But a script is the one thing that you can generate a great version of without money.
It's true.
You don't you can level the playing field with a great script. And to me, I see all the time these people making all these films, and some of them look great, and the script feels like underdeveloped. And it always bugs me because you can control that. You can write a great script or find someone that can and take that seriously and build your project around that. And if you aren't a great writer, find one. And if you want to be a writer, work until you are feeling like you've put in the time that you kind of know what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. Just, creating that level of confidence. Once you've done it so many times, just go out there and just make it happen. I think that's awesome advice.
Yeah. And in the meantime, if you can make something, make it. Don't wait to be perfect. I mean, you got to get out there, but I think it's an underrated thing to really put time into that script before you get on set.
No, that's huge. Yeah. And I always say like done is better than perfect. Right. So you just do it. Just do it. So if you're waiting for it to be perfect, it might not get there. So just go out and do it. And Paul, I'm really, really stoked you hopped on today. I'm going to encourage everyone to check out Miss White Light next week on digital streaming services. It's going to be available to rent and purchase. Also checking out So Cold the River here in the future. I'm really looking forward to that. Make sure everyone keeps their eyes peeled for maybe a trailer in the upcoming coming months, maybe. And then I'm not going to put
some amount of months.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't really know how many months. But yeah, we also had a question come in from Andrew, and he was asking what lights you used. And maybe it was me, maybe it was you. I know that as a director and writer, you let your DP handle most of that. So I do think there was actually, I know a Litra studio was used on So Cold the River, his upcoming film, which is great. If you're wondering what my setup is, I have a Litra Pro for my hair light. I have a main Litra Studio for my light. I have a Litra Pro for my kick, and I have 4 torches behind me lighting this. Also a Litra Pro lighting up the telly. So hope that answers your question, Andrew. Really looking forward to Miss White Light, Paul. It's going to be awesome, man. And again, So Cold the River coming out just right after that sometime soon. And, everyone we've had on here has been a photographer or some sort of creator. This is our first time we've had a writer and director. So
nice.
That focus was, I really enjoyed hearing about your process. Writing is something I've always been afraid to do as a DP. So maybe you've encouraged me a little bit to pull out the notepad and the pen. So
yeah, go for it.
I hope you did the same with everyone else. And again, Paul, thank you for your work as another Hoosier, fellow Hoosier. I hope to work with you in the future, man. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. Thank you. This has been great. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Paul. We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Guys, how cool is Paul? I mean, seriously, if you want to start writing and getting into directing, that's great advice. Go back and watch this, listen to this, and he'll make it happen. You guys go out, make it happen. He said, just do it. So if you can do it, then go out and do it. A script, I quote him, a script is the only thing that doesn't cost money that you can have fully done. So something like that along those quotes. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Litra's Creative Corner, and we will see you guys in a handful of weeks. This is earlier this month. We normally do it later in the month, so we will see you either later this month or early in November. Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.